at very high dollar amounts. And it's like a comedian who has made it where people start laughing at the joke before he's told it. Oh, it's not that he proves he's funny on a daily basis. I know he's funny. It's not that he proves he's a great businessman on a daily basis. He did that. I saw 2 movies, Tesla and SpaceX. And so now I am going to pretend didn't see the earlier stuff, but I'm going to pretend I know all about it, even though he had very little to do with the success of those companies that he used to justify the actual companies that we hear about. But like at the end of the day, like the dude, he's just saying robots will follow you. So he wants 2 million. There's 2 million incarcerated people in America. You want 2 million robots on the street walking around doing what? Just potentially malfunctioning and tackling the wrong person? What happens when someone tries to do a crime? Do they punch him in the face? That sounds awesome, but would that really be a solution? Also, did you just become super duper woke where you're like, I don't want to send bad people to prison?
Yeah.
That's weird. Yeah. Sure, and that's my favorite, like last little wrinkle on it all.
Obviously, yeah.
My last little wrinkle, yeah, exactly. But my last little wrinkle on it all is like they end up reinventing stuff we pitched a long time ago. Yeah. Oh, we should have some kind of rehabilitation that keeps people from committing crimes and doesn't incarcerate them. Oh, Trump, I should instead of tariffing people, I should put money in their pockets. Like there's another way to do that. Did you just it reminds me of the guy who went on like that invention show and was like, I have this thing that you have a tank top, but then there's these bits of like material you can put on your arms. And they're like, did you just invent sleeves? That's people that think they're so smart.
Yeah.
And they call us elitists because we just point out you're fucking stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I'm just so I just want to be done with this. Can we get to the inevitable? I don't want to say. I'm going to make a joke about how I think this whole thing with Elon Musk ends. It was going to involve autoerotic asphyxiation. I'm not going to say it. You can fill in the blanks yourself. We got to close out the show. We're going to go do our members content, talk about golf for a little bit. I found an excuse. But anyway, thank you everybody for joining us. I'm going to be joining Cenk for the first hour of the Young Turks later on today. So definitely be there for now. Thank you, Brett. For the rest of you, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.
Welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Ritchie. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day, none other than the incomparable Ms. Yasmin Aliya Khan. Always fascinating to have her analysis. Top story of the day. Since it's Friday, we will start with effed around, found out. Let me just take you to the video and give you some background. Here it is.
Right now. Go viral for nothing. Don't go viral for doing nothing. For being a bitch. You won't go viral for walking next to me and not doing a goddamn thing. That's the only reason I ain't gonna do nothing to you. Oh! Go viral, you bitch ass.
Stand your ground defense. Let's see that again.
Oh!
That last part didn't happen. Credit my production team. Put it at full mass. Okay. Let's make sense of it. So this individual gets instant karma after harassing a black male. According to Atlanta Black Star, a shirtless, ponytailed white male decided to taunt a group of black men strolling along a Cleveland public walkway. And he manifested his own reality when he kept repeating, quote, "You're going to go viral," end quote. A clip of him getting knocked out with a single punch has tens of thousands of viewers. Now, remember, we do not advocate for violence on Indisputable. We advocate for self-defense. It was clear that this individual was approaching said black male in an aggressive manner to provoke combat. In defense of self and perhaps defense of others, he responded with an appropriate de-escalation tactic. There's more. The video, posted on Instagram November 12th, shows the man harassing a group enjoying the Cleveland lakefront bikeway on a recent rainy day. The bystander turned on his phone and began recording the alleged racial harassment. The man's rambling about going viral kicked into gear. Quote, "You're going to go viral for doing nothing, for being a B word," he told a black male he had been harassing, attempting to bait him to fight. Quote, "You're going viral for walking next to me and not doing a damn thing," end quote. His wish was soon fulfilled, but he got one thing wrong. Ultimately, he was the one not doing a damn thing after a swift punch to the face knocked him to the ground and eliminated said threat. While data on street harassment is hard to come by, according to Pew Research, 75% of black U.S. adults say they have experienced racial discrimination, either on a regular basis or time to time. 75%. Perhaps that's why many found the clip, quote, satisfying to watch, had little sympathy for the harasser, saying he messed around and found out. As one put it, racism is expensive. It will even cost you your dignity. And I will say this actually goes beyond racism. He has protected speech. If he wanted to yell the N-word and run, he can do that. We've seen that before. But he decided to harass, according to the allegation, and violently approach. You don't have to wait for somebody to hit you. That's not how it works. If an individual makes an overture that seems aggressive, Yeah, you are well within your right to defend yourself and your property. All right, Yasmin, do you see it any differently?
I can't say that I feel badly for this person. And yeah, like I don't condone violence, but I love to see people successfully defending themselves because it does feel like justice. And if this is the justice that we get, I'm going to take it because right now, minority groups in our country are being targeted in ways that we have not seen in a very long time. And our government obviously is not doing anything to protect these groups. In fact, our government is very much the source of this antagonism that is being directed towards various minority groups, including Black people, including Hispanic people who are being targeted by ICE. And, I could go on, of course. This government, this culture that we've cultivated here in this country over the last, let's say, last 10 years, but we could probably go back further than that, especially when it comes to the way Black people are treated in this country. But even then, like, people just don't feel safe in this country the way they used to. And the irony is that this was a white man antagonizing a group of Black people. And they say, we feel unsafe when we go out in public now because of the people who have like these very racist views against us. And, that type of rhetoric and those feelings even have become so much more normalized in our country than they have been before. But then at the same time, like there's the old trope, if you want to call it that, where, if there's a Black person walking next to you or walking on the sidewalk, you'll cross the street and go to the other side, even though they're just walking, they're not doing anything. So it is interesting to see that all of the antagonism, not, I shouldn't say all, but the antagonism is coming from people who are doing it so shamelessly and so fearlessly. And then they feel like they're powerful. They feel like nothing can hurt them. They feel like they're being protected by the powers that be because they've aligned themselves with a movement that they feel is bigger than them. They think they're in alignment with the federal government and with the president of the United States, and they feel untouchable, but they are very much so touchable.
Yeah, he definitely was. All right, so hopefully somebody loves you, sir. Definitely time for an intervention. Okay, remember the story I brought you a while ago about a sheriff deciding to raid a newspaper because he didn't like their reporting. He then went into the home of the mother who was a co-owner with the son. Mother ends up having a heart attack the next day, dies. I said during that reporting, that local agency will pay. Today is the day. Marion County agrees to pay $3 million for that newspaper raid. I'm taking you to the footage to remind you of what happened. I bring you the update. Now, this is seemingly a simple situation, but it's quite complex. What they are doing, well, is against the law. They decided to raid a newspaper because of reporting they didn't like. I'm going to get into that reporting. Not only did they go there, they went into the personal home of the co-owner. Put it up full mass. Here we go. August 11th, 2023. Law enforcement officers raided the office of the Marion County Record, a small town newspaper in Kansas. They raided the office. They raided 2 private homes, including the home of Eric Meyer and his mother, Joanne Meyer, who was also a co-owner of the publication. Joanne Meyer died 1 day later of a heart attack. They killed her. It's my opinion. Marion County has agreed to pay $3 million to the newspaper. Eric Meyer stated the raid was prompted by a story published in 2023 about a local business owner. Authorities countered. They were investigating what they called, quote, identity theft and, quote, unlawful acts concerning computers, according to a search warrant. But special prosecutors found that no crimes were committed and the search warrants relied on inaccurate information. So in 2 of the 4 agreements, the Marion County Sheriff's Office also crafted a statement admitting regret. Quote, The sheriff's office wishes to express its sincere regrets to Eric and Joanne Meyer. Joanne is dead. I just want to remind everyone. Regrets to Eric and Joanne Meyer and Ruth and Ronald Herbal for his participation in the drafting and execution of the Marion County Police Department search warrants on their homes and the Marion County record. This likely would not have happened if established law had been reviewed and applied prior to the execution of the warrants. The statement reads. Now, that last statement is a throwaway to mitigate liability. I didn't read your state statute. I knew it was illegal. The people who watched that raid, millions viewed it. They knew it was illegal. They didn't have a statute in front of them. They had common sense. Common sense should have been applied. And if you don't have common sense, the law be damned. You don't get to the place of statutory remedy if you have no common sense. Put them up. The county's Board of Commissioners approved the agreement Monday with Eric Meyer, the owner and editor of the Marion County Record, and Ruth Herbal, the Marion City Councilor whose home was raided along with the newspaper office and 2 other journalists. So the agreements coincide with consent judgments expected to be submitted in their federal cases against the county. The county was a secondary player in the raids, in Meyer's eyes, but the agreements could play a part in the newspaper's ongoing case or cases against the city. Quote, everybody involved in this is 100% convinced we are going to go to trial with the city. Meyer said, this will make that easier in some regard. The county's agreements with Deb Groover and Phyllis Zorn, local journalists whose lives were upended by this, are more akin to settlements, and it doesn't really include admissions of regret. The county agreed to pay Meyer $1.5 million, Herbal $650,000, Zorn $600,000, Groover $250,000. That's according to the copies of the agreement obtained by the Kansas Reflector. According to Meyer, Zorn has retired from her position at the Marion County Record, effective immediately. Let's talk about the insurance. So the insurance covers most of those funds, but the county still has to pay Meyer about $50,000. In another lawsuit against former Marion Police Chief Gideon Cody, who's also facing criminal charges, Groover settled last year for $235,000. This equates to a whole lot of defunding the police, by the way, for a local city agency engaged in a raid against an elderly woman and her son. Monday's deal settled the county's obligations within 4 of those federal lawsuits against the city of Marion and Marion County governments and officials in the wake of the raids. 5 cases were consolidated into a single federal lawsuit. And the 4 agreements give the county and the sheriff's office immunity from any future legal action related to the August 11th, 2023 searches of the Marion County Record, Meyer's home and Herbal's home. The county agreed to make available Marion County Sheriff Jeff Soyez, Detective Aaron Christner, and the Under Sheriff Larry Starkey for official interviews, which could be used in other legal disputes. Previously, the cases were stalled, preventing interviews from taking place. Claims against the city of Marion, its police department, and other officials, including former Mayor David Mayfield and former police chief Gideon Cody, are not involved in those agreements. This is ongoing. And I'm actually thankful that they decided to get everybody. Everybody will get some remedy here because everybody is going to get an opportunity to understand why it's important to hold your colleagues accountable. So while the argument may be from the city, and this is why they're saying the city may take them to trial, the city may say, we had nothing to do with this. This was a rogue action of an individual operating outside of their scope of duty. And the rebuttal is, well, he's been rogue. And you hired him. You appointed him, you approved him, meaning the chief and the rest of the surrogates who decided to do this, which I think is a fair argument. But once again, the fact they have to go to court, defend it, hire attorneys, lets them know policy must change in the future. You got to hold the people that you work with accountable, or everybody will get some of this gumbo. All right, what say you?
You know, there are attacks across all levels of our government right now. And I just did a story for Rebel HQ. It should be out sometime early next week about a recent Gallup poll that found that 40% of young women in the United States between the ages of 15 and 44 said that they would leave the United States permanently if they could. And that number has skyrocketed, by the way, since 2016. I'll let you figure out for yourselves what happened that year. And one of the big reasons for this increase in younger women wanting to flee is because we, and I include myself in this statement, have lost faith or are losing faith in our institutions. And this feels like that for me. And I spoke in the last story about how limited justice feels in this country these days. The injustice is oftentimes perpetuated and encouraged by our government, all levels of government from top to bottom, and our government institutions, including police departments. And, you know, this country by design does not work for the American people in so many ways. There are so many ways that we could be treating our people better, but instead we choose to protect institutions. We choose to overlook things whenever they overstep or whenever they commit crimes against people. And even, you know, like even if we do get some sort of justice, a lot of times that justice is retroactive. And in this case, a woman has died. And this isn't a unique case. Usually, whenever we have issues, whether it's with the police, whether it's with, you know, just like a local news station, of course, the police were involved. Somebody is dying. Somebody's life is, if somebody's not dying, at least their life is being altered in a way that cannot be unaltered, right? They will have experienced something that was traumatic. Their families will have experienced something that was traumatic. They sometimes have, long lasting injuries. They have debt, all kinds of things. Their lives are changed by these events. And then maybe the cop, gets some kind of a slap on the wrist. If anything, he goes to jail. But like, how often does that actually happen? So I would love to see the actual people be protected in this country the way they should be before somebody dies next time. Let's try for that.
Yeah, and I want to, very well said, and I want to say this for some of the commentary about the party affiliation, perhaps, of the newspaper owners. I said this a couple of years ago. I don't give a damn what the party affiliation may be. Doesn't matter one way or the other. What happened was wrong. And these officers avoided a wrongful death claim, but the mother is dead. If they do it in Marion County and we look the other way, what's to stop them from doing it in Fulton County, Atlanta, Georgia? So this is part of why we try to be fair. And I'm thankful that at least some justice is happening here. I feel very bad for the family to lose a mother because of corrupt cops. We'll bring updates as they come. All right, I'm taking a quick break. We got more on the other side. Indisputable. Stick and stay. Indisputable exclusive, disputable exclusive. We brought you this first. No other news agency has this video. No other news agency has this story.
Every week on Indisputable, we do original, exclusive, investigative reporting you'll find nowhere else.
Our reports have been viewed by millions. Hosted by Sean King, Ben Crump, Senator John Ossoff.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
We catching these cases on camera. Just imagine the things that we don't see.
Our groundbreaking investigations and exclusive interviews bring you the real voices no one else wants you to hear. We tell the stories.
Imagine a prison that is so racist, the corrections officers contact me. That is a life or death situation being created. A black woman who was driving for Uber was allegedly assaulted by a white male passenger. After we got involved, roughly 24 hours later, the police all of a sudden opened up an investigation. What was going through your mind when bullets were simply flying inside of your vehicle?
Honestly, I thought I was going to die.
Did these officers ever say that you fit the description of somebody they were looking for? Did they say that?
Never.
Okay, that means they lied.
And we want you to be part of our truth-telling movement. Send pictures and video of stories no one else is telling and a 1 or 2 paragraph summary of the story to Indisputable's exclusive tip line at indvideos@tyt.com.
If you have more information about what's happening at this particular facility, please let me know.
Together, we're challenging the system, and together, we're making a difference.
I have the entire background to this story, and it is going to make your blood boil.
Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, unveiling the truth, empowering the people. Weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. We got a lot of comments. I will read as many as I can. TO_1790. Very creative production team. Yep. They're the best. Bernie the Kiwi Dragon. I love that crunch sound. Michael, I think this is Wattle. Welcome to Indisputable. Thank you for joining us. Dana Manning. Hello, and thank God it's Friday. All you beautiful people. Thank God it's Friday. Hello back to you. And Z, Dirty Box of Z's, subscribe with Prime. They've subscribed for 47 months. We greatly appreciate you. All right. What if I told you that Toledo's first black woman fire captain gets harassed by colleagues, even though she's the captain? Put it up full mass. This is a hell of a story. Ohio captain Kameko Goolsby. It's Goolsby, the Toledo Fire and Rescue Department's highest ranked black female officer, filed a racial and gender discrimination lawsuit against the department and multiple leaders, alleging that she has been subjected to not days, not weeks, not months, but years of harassment, bullying, false accusations, and ridicule. Goolsby, who has served in the fire department since 2006, was the first African-American woman promoted to captain in September 2022. That's according to a lawsuit filed in the Common Pleas Court of Lucas County, Ohio, and obtained by Atlanta Black Star. So since then, some of her fellow officers have turned against her. She claims investigating and deciding to discipline her for minor infractions, making false and slanderous statements about her on, well, social media. October 2022. Lieutenant Joseph Zuber, who is white, made an allegation that a finger pulse oximeter, which I think it determines your oxygen level in your blood, had previously gone missing while she was in charge of a crew on duty. Rather than properly file a lost equipment report, the then Lieutenant Goolsby had agreed with a suggestion to buy a replacement at a local supermarket, tapping the fire station's house fund of $28, reported Toledo Blade. oximeter. That's what it is. It's a very small device. You can get it from CVS or Walgreens. So she decided to save them trouble and just go ahead and get another one. Put them up full mask. Later, the assistant chief, John Kaminsky, quote, made a huge deal about it, end quote, and demanded that the captain's bars be taken away and that she receive a 15-day suspension, which the lawsuit says was a recommended punishment, not commensurate with the violation. I'm not a firefighter, but I know good and damn well $28 in a purchase because a protocol may have been missed and now an item is replaced will not strip you of your bars. There's more. In the end, Goolsby repaid the $28 and received 16 hours of officer development training for the episode. The complaint says Zuber constantly harasses Goolsby and at times has, quote, gotten directly in her face in attempts to intimidate her, end quote. Though he does not work with her directly. Zuber has filed at least 5 internal affairs complaints against her based on false accusations, and also went to several fire stations, quote, making bullying and harassing statements, end quote, about her. The lawsuit states she has complained to superiors about the hostile behavior, but he has received no discipline, no counseling, she claims. Perhaps the most serious charge Goolsby has faced is that she falsified a report related to an emergency call on an elderly woman who had fallen down in her home December 27, 2023. So according to the fire department records obtained by the Blade, Ms. Goolsby, the captain, the only paramedic on the crew, did not accompany 3 firefighters from her engine who went into the home to assist the woman, and then submitted a report containing patient information for a person who was not involved. So she later explained. So according to the captain, she explained in a memorandum that she was ill and vomiting outside the truck during that call and thought her crew could handle lift assisting the fallen woman, who was, quote, a regular patient who calls often. Goolsby attributed her mistake of including another patient's information in the report to her illness that day and a foggy brain. March 2024. The then acting fire chief, Kaminsky, investigated Goolsby directly over her handling of the call and charged her with making a false report, carelessness, incompetence, and conduct detrimental to the fire department in a written counseling document that was then leaked or given to the Blade. Quote, it was not an event that should have received discipline, her attorney, Richard Mitchell, told the Blade at the time. Quote, there have been other people who have done the same thing and not been brought to task for it. Someone is causing her to be targeted for attack. Now, typically, when you have the pattern of extreme discipline for what seems to be minor infractions, a lot of times these cats don't know they're setting themselves up, because you can easily find in the record individuals who are similarly situated, committing the same offense. You have a track record. There's a written dynamic here, and there was no punishment. There was a warning. Unequal application of the rule. Easiest thing for an attorney to prove once they subpoena the records. So the lawsuit contends that while the white firefighters, including captains in the Toledo Fire Department, routinely received counseling, and that information is not leaked to news organizations. Also in March 2024, Fire Chief Michael Romstadt who is white, repeatedly slandered Goolsby on Facebook, the complaint says, accusing her of, quote, not acting as an officer, end quote. Other white firefighters chimed in, agreeing with him and making negative comments. This actively violated the city of Toledo's social media policy, but the officers faced no consequences, and according to the lawsuit, and she's the captain. If she's that bad, you have to wonder, how did she become a captain in the first place? Typically, if you're a bad firefighter, you don't get promoted to captain, especially if you happen to be a black female. There's more. So Lieutenant Eric Pinkham, along with other white firefighters, displayed Proud Boys and Trump clothing. Here we go. While holding rifles. And degraded and harassed Goolsby and other African-American female city employees on Facebook without consequence. Once again, this is against the rules, the complaint says. In contrast, the minority employee who complained about Pinkham in another unrelated discrimination complaint was disciplined. Goolsby complained to the city's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Office concerning her belief that she was being subjected to ongoing harassment because of her race and gender. She did this in March of 2024. Put him up. Oh, man. So the following month, she wrote to the battalion chief. His name is Kurt King. She said to Kurt that the discrimination had escalated because the previous harassment had not been addressed, including other officers disrespecting her now in public, on social media, on public radio. Yes, public freaking radio. June 2024, the fire chief, Allison Armstrong, sent Goolsby a letter that she was being charged with backing into a fire station without a backer. Another person assisting and allegedly ordering a driver, according to the allegation, to do the same. The city did not interview Goolsby or follow its usual investigative process before charging Goolsby. The complaint says, backing without a backer. There's more. Captain Kristen Turner. So meanwhile, Captain Kristen Turner, who is white, sent an email to several employees inquiring if they ever had a problem with Goolsby and if they had a personal journal documenting their concerns. Captains outside of plaintiff Goolsby protected classes are not subjected to this type of witch hunt, the lawsuit states. So despite complaining about the harassment to the battalion chief, Verdell Franklin, several times since she became captain, the city of Toledo has not adequately addressed the concerns, according to the lawsuit, has instead subjected her to monthly investigations, disrespect from subordinates, and hostile working conditions. There's a lot. There's also a lot more. But for some reason, at this point, she's not fired. They're just documenting, trying to make it difficult, wanting her to resign, perhaps. All right. So the lawsuit accuses the city of Toledo, Kaminsky, Ramstadt, Zuber, Pinkham, Tanner, and 3 other fire department employees of racial and gender discrimination, hostile work environment, retaliation, and violation of Ohio law. It says Goolsby has suffered lost wages, emotional distress, consequential damages, and seeks a jury trial to determine compensatory and punitive damages in excess of $50,000 for each defendant, plus legal costs that amounts to $1.5 million. The Toledo Fire Department did not immediately return a request for comment from Atlanta Black Star. In a statement to WTOL last month, a spokesperson for the city said, quote, the Ohio Civil Rights Commission previously reviewed the same allegations and determined that it was not probable that the city of Toledo or the firefighters named in the suit engaged in any unlawful discriminatory practices. It is unfortunate that these unfounded claims continue to divert time and attention from the important work of the Toledo Fire and Rescue Department. Now, keep in mind, a lot of this stuff is documented for the record: social media, public radio appearances, and obviously the charges against her for minor infractions. Okay, Yasmin, that's a whole lot. The woman is staying strong. Her lawsuit is filed. Once the subpoena comes in and the records are clear and you can compare and contrast, you will see likely, well, let's just say inequity in treatment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is really what this is about equity. And, I'm sorry to keep plugging my Rebel HQ video that isn't out yet, but I did mention in that video that maybe women don't feel comfortable in this country anymore because misogyny has become so normalized recently. We have currently a sex pest in the Oval Office who has said horrible things about women and has done horrible things to women. He has been found guilty of committing sex crimes against women, and he is closely associated with Jeffrey Epstein. And millions of people in this country voted for him 3 times, knowing all of that. They also came for women's health care and they took it. They're coming for our right to vote. They're coming for our right to divorce our husbands. And women's labor continues to be undervalued and underpaid. And with that, we're now seeing women in high ranking positions, either in government positions or elsewhere, being denied the positions and salaries and recognition that they've earned because they're being called DEI hires. So on top of all of that, who or what can we turn to? Our institutions are failing us. If they're not attacking us, they're certainly not protecting us. But Doc, you mentioned the unequal application of the law when you were talking. And we're seeing an awful lot of that these days. Captain Goolsby is a woman and she is Black, right? Charlie Kirk once said that if he saw a Black pilot flying his plane, he would be worried that maybe he's not in the best hands because apparently any Black person in any position is probably only there because of DEI initiatives, not because they're just that good at their jobs, not because they're capable of performing their jobs. It was super racist when he said it. It's still super racist now. But we know that the opposite is often true. If Captain Goolsby, as a Black woman, was made chief, there was no celebration of white mediocrity there. I would bet that she had to work so much harder for that position than others would have had to who are not Black women. Minorities constantly have to fight to prove themselves and their worth because their worth is constantly being questioned and devalued. They're held to unbelievably high standards. And every time they screw up, their mistakes are not only seen as being less forgivable, but their actions are seen to be reflective of their entire communities. That is an enormous amount of pressure for people to bear while performing their jobs admirably and flawlessly at the same time. So I really hope that things work out for the captain here. She has a lot of people fighting against her. I'm sure she's probably used to it, given the line of work that she's in, given who she is as a double minority in this country, in this particular political climate, especially in that part of the country. I'm sure she's used to it. I'm sure she's a strong woman, but she shouldn't have to be. And none of this is a fight that should ever have taken place.
That's right. And based on what the city said, they blamed her. Mm-hmm. They said, oh, we got to get back to the important work of firefighting. But she's one of yours. What makes somebody else's word stronger than hers? Not even I'm looking into it as the battalion chief. No, there's an investigation. We want to know all the facts before we make a comment. They simply took the side of the multiple individuals who seemingly have violated the rules. 2 questions at the end of the day that attorney is going to note. How did she get those bars in the first place? Meaning, how did she become captain? And why did people who are similarly situated as her not receive the same penalty for the same infraction? Those 2 questions are going to be their ruin. All right, got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Wow. Put it up full mass. Yeah. Ariana Grande gets accosted by a male Karen fan at a Wicked 2 premiere. That viral footage shows Cynthia Erivo jumping in to protect the co-star. And there's a background to this, and Yasmin, has some information about it. The man later identified in court as 26-year-old Johnson Wynn was arrested, charged with being a public nuisance. Later, that same person posted on IG that he was, quote, free after being arrested, end quote. So he describes himself as a, quote, troll most hated, end quote, on his social media feed. And his posts show previous appearances at celebrity events. This past June, he jumped the stage at Katy Perry's Sydney concert and allegedly interrupted a show by the Chainsmokers last December. That's according to the BBC. If convicted, he faces a fine of a whopping $1,500 and some change. Some fans accuse Wynn of re-traumatizing Grande, who has previously spoken about PTSD following a 2017 Manchester Arena attack that was in England during one of her concerts. Others faulted event security and urged platforms to remove Wynn's videos. So please keep in mind, trolling is typically nonviolent, not combative. It's on social media. So this is not trolling, okay? This is, in fact, criminal. That's why he got arrested. And I can't imagine what goes through the mind of somebody, especially a woman who's out in the public, enjoying the opportunity to engage, and then somebody does this. The anticipation of fear alone, the anxiety of that has to be gut-wrenching. Yasmin, you have some background on this dude.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. He's not a fan of any kind. He's an Australian influencer, and he is just generally, I don't want to keep saying his name, but he's such a gross commentary on what our world has come to value and represent. He goes viral for attacking celebrities like this, and it works for him. I'm so glad that Ariana Grande is okay, though, because I'm sure she was shaken by the event. As you mentioned, this girl has been through a lot when it comes to public appearances, but also the influencer. Even though he was arrested, he did brag about what he did on social media following the event. He said, "Dear Ariana, thank you for allowing me to jump on the yellow carpet with you." And of course, the yellow carpet is in reference to the yellow brick road because they're promoting the second Wicked movie. So it's just really, I hate seeing this. Cynthia Erivo, oh my God, what a good friend.
Yep.
Like everyone needs Cynthia Erivo as a friend. Michelle Yeoh was also there. She seemed very much like immediately turned into like a mother to, just try to guard and protect. I don't know where security was. I don't know why Cynthia had to jump in the way that she did, but I am grateful that she was there. It's gross.
One point that people made that I agree with, security is slipping.
Mm-hmm.
Security is slipping, seriously. Mm-hmm. All right. Hopefully there's no update on that one. We got more on the other side. Indisputable stick and stay.
Indisputable exclusive. Exclusive, disputable, exclusive. We brought you this first. No other news agency has this video. No other news agency has this story.
Every week on Indisputable, we do original, exclusive, investigative reporting you'll find nowhere else.
Our reports have been viewed by millions. Hosted by Sean King, Ben Crump, Senator John Ossoff.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
We catching these cases on camera. Just imagine the things that we don't see.
Our groundbreaking investigations and exclusive interviews bring you the real voices no one else wants you to hear. We tell the stories.
Imagine a prison that is so racist, the corrections officers contact me. That is a life or death situation being created. A black woman who was driving for Uber was allegedly assaulted by a white male passenger. After we got involved, roughly 24 hours later, the police all of a sudden opened up an investigation. What was going through your mind when bullets were simply flying inside of your vehicle?
Honestly, I thought I was going to die.
Did these officers ever say that you fit the description of somebody they were looking for? Did they say that?
Never.
Okay, that means they lied.
And we want you to be part of our truth-telling movement. Send pictures and video of stories no one else is telling and a 1 or 2 paragraph summary of the story to Indisputable's exclusive tip line at indvideos@tyt.com.
If you have more information about what's happening at this particular facility, please let me know.
Together, we're challenging the system, and together, we're making a difference.
I have the entire background to this story, and it is going to make your blood boil.
Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, unveiling the truth, empowering the people. Weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific.
All right. Welcome back. Always good to be with you. Don't forget about our partners, Noble Mobile. As I said, great phone, great plan, great stuff. Not a great name. That's just my opinion. Okay. Noble Mobile, they actually pay you money back. And so you get unlimited data and you pay $50 a month. What you don't use, you get cash back. Not a discount on the next bill, not Noble Mobile money. You get cash money back to you. All right, let's put it back up again. So they are allied with us on multiple fronts, including making sure you don't get ripped off. All right. Noble Mobile is the only wireless plan that pays you as you use your phone less. If you switch to the No Bull plan, you get unlimited data, only $50 a month. Spend the data you don't use, you get cash back. Spend however you choose to is your money. If you switch, Noble saves the average customer $500 to $1,000 a year on their phone bill. You can go to go.tyt.com/switch or use the QR code. All right. All right. Like I said, I'm getting one for my dad, actually, because I'm paying for these minutes that data. He doesn't use that stuff. He just talks. All right. I'm going to read a few comments. Thank you all for joining the convo. Devil Bear Hawkturian. Thank you for that, by the way. Geez, those group of coworkers needs discipline. Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right, we'll get some more comments in. Okay. Well, it's Friday, so let's just talk about some Hollywood stuff. So to kick off Hollywood stuff, I turn it over to you.
All right. Thanks so much, Doc. We do have a lot of Hollywood stuff to get to, but I promise it's relevant to this show. So Selling Sunset The star Chelsea Lazkani did an interview last year with Carlos King that has suddenly become much more relevant today. Take a look.
Struggled a lot. I often don't feel heard or seen. I feel like when I am heard, I'm misheard. And I feel like a lot of my mannerisms and my natural dialect, my natural personality and persona is always misconstrued. I struggle so much because I'm trying to be my authentic self, and there are undertones of like Chelsea's aggressive or Chelsea's a bully or Chelsea's mean. And I'm like, never in my life up until coming on reality TV have I ever heard that. I'm sorry, it makes me so sad. But never in my life have I ever been called a bully or mean or aggressive. So when I hear some of that, or I hear undertones of it from some of the other girls, and I'm just like, you've never really given me a chance. If I say something, I'm aggressive or I'm mean, or I came for this person. If someone says the exact same thing, she's just giving her opinion.
So with the release of season 9 of Selling Sunset, Netflix's real estate reality series, fans have noticed that the type of treatment that star Chelsea Lazkani was referring to in this interview has become more prolific over the years, particularly coming from her co-star Mary Bonnet. So here's a criticism of how Mary has treated Chelsea.
From the moment Chelsea came into the O group, I saw the microaggressions. Chelsea was the only one that had to prove her worth before she was accepted into the group. I remember when Christine brought her in, I think it was in season 5, and she went to Brett and Jason and was like, I know this girl, her name's called Chelsea, we get on really well, she's into real estate, she's really good at what she does, I think she should come in. Because Christine was planning her exit. Brett and Jason said, yeah, sure, we'd love to meet her. And then they turned around and said to Chelsea, if you can sell this property, we'll let you into the group. No other person in the O group that we've seen on Selling Sunset has had to do that. Everyone else has come in by association, by recommendation. None of them have had to sell a damn thing to end up on the show. Only Chelsea. We cannot pinpoint the exact thing that has made Mary dislike Chelsea so much. And in the last season, it was Mary that was antagonizing Chelsea, talking about her behind her back, getting into her business. And then when Chelsea put the boundary up and said, don't you dare, don't ever have my name in your mouth, that gave Mary a reason not to like Chelsea. But she didn't like Chelsea anyway. She just doesn't like the fact that Chelsea will speak up for herself. What takes the cake now is she's trying to use anything to make Chelsea seem like a threat when she isn't. How are you going to be so upset because someone sent you flowers? I don't care if it was staged or not. I don't care if Chelsea did it so that she can appear some type of way on the screen. For the fact that Mary reacted like that, this same attention that you're saying that Chelsea is looking for, you gave it to her. Then you got Brie looking like a damn hypocrite and a fool, talking about how pretty the flowers are. Then as soon as she hears they're from Chelsea, all of a sudden they're ugly and they get thrown in the bin. Then at the dinner, you got Alana walking in giving Mary flowers. On camera, Mary doesn't say a damn thing.
You calling Chelsea a bitch for sending you flowers, and you're more upset with her sending you flowers than you are about the burglary.
Last season, they had an issue where Chelsea wore this, which was a very short skirt. Mary is like, you are dressed inappropriately. And Chelsea says, well, you are always dressed inappropriately. Like, who are you to tell me what to do? And I will say that in this season, we see Mary in a variety of outfits. Like at one point, she's literally wearing lingerie with a blazer over it. Like it feels like a lot to be like, you're dressed inappropriately. Chelsea responds with the same energy to her. And now she's like, you're dangerous and I can't be around you. Like that feels very loaded racially. And it feels like, okay, you're doing too much now. And then I watched the finale where she starts crying, screaming, freaking out, like throwing up, literally having an anxiety attack because Chelsea's name is on a table. Chelsea has never like swung at you. She's never leapt at you. She's never proven herself to be dangerous. So this whole idea of like, I'm going to try to get this person fired because I don't like them is a lot.
I heard Chriselle Staus is telling people that Mary was too afraid of Chelsea to film the final episode, and that's just not true. In the final episode that should have aired, Mary and Jason confront Chelsea in the office, and they both fire her. Chelsea then accuses them, rightfully so, of being racist, just like he did at that other dinner. Jason then demanded that the cameras be turned off, and he threatened to cancel Selling Sunset and Selling OC if the production company aired that footage. So they left it out. That's why the season ends that way. And I am an attorney, and the reason I know this is because more than one former and or current cast member has reached out to me because they are contractually precluded from explaining this or sharing some of these details, but I'm not contractually bound by anything.
Chelsea told me that everything we saw on camera was actually worse. She said everything everything that everybody's upset about, it was actually worse. Actually worse. This was disgusting. I'm disgusted. To be honest, this show should be boycotted.
Well, Mary wasn't the only co-star being accused of racism. Bree Taisi, whose claim to fame was being one of Nick Cannon's baby mamas, has also been called out over her treatment of cast members. So here's more on that.
Bree and Chelsea have that long-standing beef because Chelsea was talking about Bree's relationship with Nick Cannon. And then Bree brought to camera that Chelsea's husband was cheating on her, which Chelsea was like, we all said that we weren't going to do this and you did it anyway.
Last season, Chelsea said something to you that other women in the brokerage said. Like, damn, girl, how does it feel to be Nick Cannon's 20th baby mama? That's something that all the ladies said to you, but you chose to focus on Chelsea. Why? Because even though you ride all that black, you don't like black women.
See you later, ho.
And it's like, Bree, it's crazy hearing you refer to Chelsea as a hoe. You are on camera saying that you've been with Nick Cannon for a decade. That would date back to 2014. In 2014, Nick Cannon was still married to Mariah Carey. They did not separate until December 2014. So what month was it that you and Nick Cannon commenced your courtship? Ho. You're calling Chelsea a hoe while you're conversing with Mary, who had sex with Jason, her boss. So you're actually talking to the head hoe. It's two hoes calling a non-hoe a hoe.
While being the rag to Nick Cannon and the president of his concubine or harem, or letting him lay it low, spread it wide, and then come back home to you is embarrassing, there are far more embarrassing things about women like Bree. She had such low racial self-esteem that she went and laid on a table to get work done so that she could be chosen by black men, whilst being okay with microaggressions towards black women and being prejudiced towards them. There is absolutely nothing wrong with being a white mother to a black child. There is, however, something wrong with being a white mother to a black child when you have prejudice towards black women but have no issue taking black dick. But you perpetuating that same behavior to other black people is so crazy to me, seeing that one day your child might go through the same things, but you will not be able to relate, you will not be able to understand their struggle. And you're showing us that you don't care because you are one of the people that perpetuate this behavior.
Bree's being sued, and they are allegedly not allowed to talk about that on camera. It gets cut out whenever they talk about it. And from my understanding, part of the lawsuit is that she is using racial slurs, she's using homophobic slurs, and someone came to Chrishell and showed her screenshots of how Bree would talk about G Flip in text messages without Chrishell being there. And so Bree is smiling in Chrishell's face, claiming that she's such a good friend to her, and then in private, talking down about her non-binary partner.
So the heads of the Oppenheim Group, and that's the real estate company that the show is based around, they also drew a lot of criticism online, particularly how Jason Oppenheim, one of the twin brothers, was accused of firing Chelsea on behalf of Mary, and Jason and Mary used to date. So here is what people are saying about that.
Season 9 has shown that the powers that be on this show are capitulating to the wider conservative turn in our culture. And in doing so, they're making sacrificial lambs of the two most marginalized members of the cast. Chelsea, a black woman, and Chrishell, a mixed-race queer woman. The major conflicts that this latter half of this season hinged around were conflicts that were set up to make the two most marginalized members of the cast look like villains. We've gotten so much information from Chrishell on Instagram after the season has ended because she's basically exposing that there were a lot of things that they were not allowed to talk about and a lot of things that were cut out. So it seems like she is on this like war path, victimizing herself herself cutting off people left and right, when in reality, she's simply reacting to things that other people started, and then them starting it out is getting cut out, and we're just seeing her reaction. And I say all this to say that there is, in my opinion, a deliberate effort on the part of the editors and producers of this show, of whom Brett and Jason Oppenheim are two of the executive producers, to make the Black woman and the queer woman look crazy, to cast them as villains so that when they are pushed out, when they quit because the working environment that they're in is so hostile that they can no longer ignore it, they look like big self-victimizing babies.
Let me just say I'm not surprised. These two men who date basically teenagers, socialize in mostly white spaces, and you want me to believe that they were going to help the Black woman on their team, the only Black woman on their team? Because let me just say this, I didn't always like Chelsea in this show, but she grew on me. And for them to cut out the episode of where they actually fired her on camera and where she flat out called them racist is very manipulative, because I didn't know that they had a part in the production. And the fact that they only stepped in when Mary was finally getting her 2 cents and being like, cut the cameras, was super interesting.
Well, Mary still maintains that she felt in danger whenever Chelsea was around. So following the season 9 premiere, Mary sat down with Us Weekly to chat through the drama with Chelsea, explaining that she becomes emotional over seeing Chelsea's name card at Brie Taisi's party for a reason. And just for context, she just saw Chelsea's name written on a name card, and she started to have seemingly like a panic attack. So at Brie's party, she said, I wasn't just emotional. There were some things from after the dinner that happened that I didn't want to put myself in a situation where I'm in danger. In response, Chrishell fired back with an Instagram story call out where she wrote, I was there for all the on-camera and off-camera moments. You were never in danger, girl. Alluding that you ever were in danger regarding Chelsea is really dangerous rhetoric. Do better. Chelsea has yet to comment on the season's drama following the reunion, but according to TikToker Michelle Nutsum, who is a licensed agent in California, Chelsea has allegedly allowed her real estate license to expire, leading fans to believe that she is ready to leave Selling Sunset behind. So a cast member who is definitely leaving the show behind is fellow cast member Chrishell Stause, who has been publicly supportive of Chelsea. After Chrishell announced her exit from the show, she notably unfollowed most of her cast members from the hit Netflix series, except for Chelsea Lazkani. When Chelsea discussed the struggle of being her authentic self, when as a Black woman, she's constantly fighting against the perception that she is a bully, Chrishell wrote this, saying, this is heartbreaking, and why you shouldn't have an all-white production company with an executive producer credit and editing power to Jason, who has power to say, if you don't take this out, there is no show. Also, Chrishell Stause has previously called out her fellow castmate Brie Taisi for promoting a company called MAGA Bracelets, additionally alleging that Taisi used a transphobic slur to refer to Chrishell's partner. And in a recent interview with Variety, Chrishell claimed that Sunset's producers don't want to cover heavy topics, alleging they have a fear of the show going into a storyline of racism or homophobia. That's ironic. She has also accused the Netflix series of cutting footage discussing Brie Taisi's alleged use of a transphobic slur. So also a special thanks to all the content creators featured in the story, including Jessie Wu, Tell All Bees, Nita Teresa, Vivian Banks, I'm Lowry, Dami Zane, and Teresa Concepcion. If you can check out all their channels for more info if you want more info on this story. I feel like we gave you a lot of info already. But just to kind of summarize all of that, the general gist of this is there is one Black cast member on this show, right? There's a few mixed race people, but there is one obviously Black cast member on this show. And so I don't watch a whole lot of reality TV, but I do watch this show. I started watching it because I wanted to see the houses, and then, you just kind of get caught up. But this season, it was very hard to watch. And I think what's so interesting about this story and why it has kind of taken off is because of what the production team was saying. They said, you know what, we don't want to cover these really heavy political topics on our show. Meanwhile, one of your cast members is being sued for being homophobic, transphobic, and racist to her employees. And that's just like in a separate thing from the show, but they weren't allowed to discuss it on the show. And then you see all these microaggressions that have been compiling, but they all came to a head this season. So Mary, the one who is mainly being accused of being racist towards Chelsea, she generally is not the most problematic person on the cast, but she does have her particular issue with Chelsea. And overall, I think it's telling that we are now unable to separate the politicization of the world that we live in, just for fun. You can't say, oh, I don't get involved in politics anymore because everything is political these days, right? One of the cast members selling MAGA bracelets, and that's the same cast member that's being sued for being terrible towards different minority groups. That stuff you cannot separate, especially if you're a Black woman in a space like this. Doc, do you have any thoughts on any of this?
One, obviously, that's a different universe, and I feel so left out. Great breakdown. I will say this, as you were going through the story, I said, the person they see as their antagonist is actually their redeemer. A wise man taught me that there are two mirrors, that everybody's a mirror. Even if that mirror is blurry and tilted, it's still a mirror. There's something there. So their innate biases surfacing to the forefront. And they refuse to see the pattern of this. And the individuals around her are basically doing the exact same thing. They're co-signing on this bias, possibly not seeing it either. But these are the two mirrors. The mirror of what you judge and the mirror of what you are, but you don't want to admit it. Those are your two mirrors. And as you were explaining the story, I said, my goodness, they don't realize that if they just took a step back and thought for one moment that they may be wrong, possibly, just perhaps, you're looking at it wrong. That one question, transformation typically doesn't come with a comment or a statement, it comes with a question. That one question would likely set them free. Because for them to be in this kind of mess, and listen, the commentary from seemingly all the viewers is quite, so now it's the same. And I'm interested to know, because I've never watched the program, okay? But I would like to know, is there any discussion about cast members when this happens, or do they keep all of that outside of production?
It's kind of tricky because you can tell that they are heavily editing everything.
Mhm.
Again, I started watching this show for the houses, right? The drama is just kind
Wow.
of there, but it's and what's been coming out, especially now after this season, more than I've seen with other seasons, is there is a lot of talk about what is going on, what was left out, conversations that were left out, the way things were handled behind the scenes. We're getting a lot more insight into those types of things, mainly because it seems like Chrishell has left the show, so she has no filter anymore. She's just saying all kinds of things. Chelsea may or may not have been fired. We're not sure. Or is just not returning to the show. So on the show itself, I mean, there were things that are now being reported that they just were not allowed to discuss, and things that made, people like Mary look bad were cut from the show because the production team likes her. She's kind of like their darling. She also makes the most money for the Oppenheim group. Oh, that's what they say, that she's, their best realtor that they have on the team. So they're not going to do anything to go against Mary. And then Mary has also been accused of weaponizing her white woman's tears by going to her bosses, who she knows she is highly favored with, and saying, you know what, I don't know what you can do to fix this. And saying, implying that she was trying to get Chelsea fired, seemingly knowing that that would work with these bosses, with this production team. So we are getting a lot more insight into all that. It's not as fun anymore to watch a show like this. Again, I was just there for the houses.
Yeah. All right. Well, I can see how it sucked you in.
Yeah.
All
I don't
right.
even like the houses. So
We got more on the other side. Indisputable. Stick a stay. Indisputable, exclusive, disputable, exclusive. We brought you this first. No other news agency has this video. No other news agency has this story.
Every week on Indisputable, we do original, exclusive, investigative reporting you'll find nowhere else.
Our reports have been viewed by millions. Hosted by Sean King, Ben Crump, Senator John Ossoff.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
We catching these cases on camera. Just imagine the things that we don't see.
Our groundbreaking investigations and exclusive interviews bring you the real voices no one else wants you to hear. We tell the stories.
Imagine a prison that is so racist, the corrections officers contact me. That is a life or death situation being created. A black woman who was driving for Uber was allegedly assaulted by a white male passenger. After we got involved, roughly 24 hours later, the police all of a sudden opened up an investigation. What was going through your mind when bullets were simply flying inside of your vehicle?
Honestly, I thought I was going to die.
Did these officers ever say that you fit the description of somebody they were looking for? Did they say that?
Never.
Okay, that means they lied.
And we want you to be part of our truth-telling movement. Send pictures and video of stories no one else is telling and a 1 or 2 paragraph summary of the story to Indisputable's exclusive tip line at indvideos@tyt.com.
If you have more information about what's happening at this particular facility, please let me know.
Together, we're challenging the system, and together, we're making a difference.
I have the entire background to this story, and it is going to make your blood boil.
Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, unveiling the truth, empowering the people. Weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. We have a lot of show left. Let me read a couple of comments. Sina Hugaboom. Doc, didn't you report on the story about retired white men firefighters who admitted to not saving Black children? Yes, 2 stories, as a matter of fact. One was based on a confession that someone allegedly made to a Black male, a young Black male. It was on this firefighter's birthday. He was elderly. The other was the firefighters actually did not save a Black child. Modern context. So 2 of those stories. All right. So a sheriff decided to partner with ICE. They're going to fight crime together. He got voted out immediately. Put him up full mass. He's unemployed. Pennsylvania sheriff who struck a deal with ICE has been voted out. Fred Haran, Philadelphia area sheriff, was voted out last week. He faced criticism from his opponent and from groups that cared about the rights of people over a partnership that he decided to forge with ICE. What does the agreement entail? So, good old sheriff here, the Republican sheriff, Bucks County, signed up in April for the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement 287 program, which delegates some federal immigration responsibilities to local law enforcement departments. Under the agreement, some Bucks County deputies can, quote, enforce limited immigration authority while performing routine police duties, such as identifying and, as they say, an alien. There are no aliens on the planet. At a DUI checkpoint and sharing information directly with ICE. That's according to an ICE webpage describing the program. So you get to do their job, not get paid for it. Neglect doing the job that you are elected to do, sworn to do, and you believe your community is winning or you're winning because you're an elected sheriff, but you work for ICE. There's more. Out of the 3 models, the sheriff chose the one that grants the most authority to the local deputies. Hundreds of local law enforcement agencies across the country, including 5 other Pennsylvania sheriffs, their offices have chosen to participate in that model. It's called the task force model. The other models allow local agencies to deal only with suspected undocumented immigrants already in custody or facing criminal charges. 17 law enforcement officers in Bucks County received ICE training as part of the agreement, according to the sheriff. So the agreement drew the outrage of this guy. There's a new sheriff in town. Drew the outrage of Sheriff-elect Danny Kelsler, 33 years of age, young guy, Army veteran, and attorney at law, who worked for a time as a public safety official in Governor Shapiro's administration. So the sheriff-elect led the issues page of his campaign website with an argument against the sheriff and his ICE partnership, calling it, quote, a political stunt that wastes resources, erodes trust, puts our communities at greater risk. In an interview with ABC News, he called it, quote, the biggest issue in the race with or without me. So I want to make sure everybody is clear. This sheriff did not lose because he was already going to lose. It is difficult to beat an incumbent sheriff of any jurisdiction. It is tough. Not only was he beat, he basically beat himself. There's more. Quote, I think people understood, and I tried to make the case, that this was a race being watched by law enforcement all over the country because this was the swing district in the swing state. And this was the first referendum on not only ICE, but specifically local law enforcement partnering with ICE. The sheriff-elect said. He added, quote, elected sheriffs all over the country were going to see, did the guy who backed ICE and went out on a limb for Trump win re-election because of it or lose re-election because of it? So I felt the stakes of the race, and I felt tremendous responsibility to run an effective campaign and win, to send a message to the sheriffs all over the country that this is a bad idea. He ran on a purpose, a point. He had a play, a model, stuck to the issues, was polarizing intentionally, made the contrast argument, not the we can all get along argument, said he's wrong, I'm right. This is bad. This is good. This is good policy. This is bad policy. You polarize intentionally. You make the argument to show the contrast. And he did. He won, 33 years of age. Sheriff-elect told ABC News he will impose a moratorium on the agreement on his first day in office and seek formally withdraw from that agreement within his first 6 weeks. He was aided on the trail by local rights groups like the American Civil Liberties Union of Pennsylvania, which filed a lawsuit against the sheriff in June, accusing the then sheriff of entering into the 287 agreement unlawfully. Last month, a court common pleas judge dismissed the suit, writing that the agreement was clearly lawful. In an interview with ABC News, the sheriff, who was about to be the ex-sheriff, said he never intended to use the full scope of the powers the task force model gave him and had not directed his deputies to perform random immigration enforcement. Well, sir, why didn't you just pick door number one then? They gave you three options here. You pick door number three. That's on you. Now you're talking about what your intentions were. Well, sir, if you're not smart enough to pick the thing that you intend to, the right person is taking your job. Anyway, there's more. When posed the question, why didn't he choose a less aggressive enforcement model? Sheriff said, quote, felt like the task force model was able to be massaged into what I wanted to do. Well, the others were not. He lost by 25,000 votes, on par with other countywide Republicans. The man just said, anyway, he's leaving. So he's talking out of both sides of his mouth, saying, no, I didn't mean to do it like that. That's not what I really meant. Then saying, well, I really meant to do it like that because that's the way I wanted to work it. Yasmin thought.
Good riddance to him and others like him. And look, I don't want to get too excited or too optimistic or too far ahead of things, but I am liking the trends that I'm seeing across this country. The American people are not only saying that they don't support the actions of this government, and that includes at the local, city and county levels, but they're taking action against all of it. Right? There's a reason why the only Democrats who voted with Republicans to open the government without really getting any kind of concessions in exchange for it were Democrats who are not up for re-election in 2026, because for better or for worse, better late than never, but the Democrats at least have realized that the American people are voting against they're ready to vote people out of office. They're tired of what they're seeing. They're tired of the inaction. They're tired of all the stagnation in our government, not even just stagnation, but regression in our government. And they're tired of voting people in who do not fight for them, will not fight for them, cannot fight for them. So voters now are also much more informed than before, and they are demonstrating where their boundaries are, what they're willing and unwilling to tolerate, especially in their immediate communities. And I hope this serves as a message to other local leaders who are seeking to align themselves and their offices with the absolute worst that this administration has to offer to the American people. Here in Houston, our mayor is a Democrat, but he has very much a right-wing platform. He can't seem to decide. Or admit that the Houston Police Department is actually cooperating with ICE. He insisted for months that they were not. And then finally, he kind of admitted it a few days ago. And then, like 2 days ago, he walked those statements back. But we know what's going on. We've also got Nancy Pelosi, who is no longer seeking re-election. I would normally assume that her reasons for dropping out had something to do with her age, but she is being primaried by a much more progressive Democrat in her district. And the question is, can she win that race, even though she is very much the incumbent? She's been representing the people of San Francisco for longer than I have actually been alive. And we're also seeing over in New York, first of all, obviously, Zoran Mamdani, he just won the mayoral race in New York City, but we're also seeing Chuck Schumer facing calls to step down and resign because he does not fight for the American people the way that we need him to. And if he doesn't resign on his own, there is a very real threat that the much more progressive candidate, that Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, is going to primary him. And can he win that primary? We're not so sure. And we are seeing that these candidates who don't actually stand up for or represent their constituents, are getting voted out. They're not getting the donations that they used to. They are being challenged by members of their own party. And I love to see it.
Yeah. And people who would have never considered to run for office are running and winning. And I hope somebody who sees this segment, I hope you take that light that was just given. All right? It's your time. We are the leaders we've been looking for. Well, a plainclothes ICE agent pulls a gun on a civilian, and then the police come. Well, here it is.
What are you doing? What's your problem?
Yeah.
What the are you doing? Are you for real right now? And now these cops are helping them. Y'all are on live. Look I thought police are not supposed. I'm just driving. You're following me. I thought cops are not supposed to collaborate with ICE. What are you doing?
You can't be following us like that.
I live here.
Wow. Put it up full mass. First of all, you see that badge? Sir, I would have assumed you were a security guard. The hell? A plainclothes ICE agent decided to pull a gun on a civilian. A cop intervenes briefly. Southern California. Let me give you the information as we have it. According to the Los Angeles Times on Sunday, an immigration and customs enforcement agent pointed a gun toward a woman on a busy street in Santa Ana. When a Fullerton police officer, intervened because he saw a man in plain clothes pointing a gun at an unarmed woman. And so that's why he stopped. She was in her vehicle, okay? According to a statement from the police department, the officer had just dropped off an inmate at the Orange County Jail, was returning to the city when he noticed a man exit a vehicle at the intersection and draw his weapon on a driver behind him. The officer immediately stopped to assist, not knowing the identity of the armed male or the circumstances unfolding in front of him. The statement read, quote, ICE is a federal law enforcement agency, and Fullerton police officers will assist them and any other local, state, federal, or federal law enforcement agency in situations involving immediate officer safety. Fullerton PD said in a statement according to CBS News. However, Senate Bill 54 prohibits local law enforcement from participating in immigration enforcement. The Fullerton Police Department has not and will not participate in immigration enforcement efforts. But that wasn't immigration enforcement. In my opinion, what that guy did was criminal. And the officer, his instinct was correct. Just because the guy happens to be a member of ICE, that doesn't negate your jurisdiction or your authority as a Fullerton police officer seeing somebody draw down on a driver in her own community. So we got a lot of questions. Yas, thoughts here?
Ooh, this is what I was talking about in the last story. These government institutions and agencies are attacking the American people in our own towns, in our own cities, in our own homes. We don't feel safe in these places where we've been living for years, decades, whatever. And it's not because of all these gang members and terrorists coming across the border. That's whatever's going on with the border, but for the most part, people are safe in their homes, right? These people who are coming across the border, they're not violent criminals. We know that. I know here in Houston, a lot of the ICE calls that the police have been making have been people that they're calling ICE on just from regular, everyday traffic violations. So there is nothing, maybe nothing more that the American people are less tolerant of than feeling that their own cities and towns are being invaded and targeted by anyone, let alone by our own people, by people whose salaries are paid with our tax dollars. Hell no. And this is why this administration and those aligned with the administration are historically unpopular. If they want to tell stories about boogeymen selling fentanyl or whatever, then fine. But when you're in their towns and they can see what you're actually doing and how you're actually conducting yourselves and who you're actually targeting, that is propaganda, and they can see it for themselves. And that is why this administration is not winning that propaganda war finally. I'm so glad to see it happen, but I'm very sorry that it had to come to this before we could get to this point.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, it's been always fascinating to have you on the program. Tell people how they can follow you, check out your great work.
Yeah, so I do videos over on Rebel HQ. You can check all my stuff out over there. Also, you can follow me on Instagram at Yaz, KYAZZZZZK, 5 Z's. That's it.
Remember, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.